I'm here with the Marvel Legends team. We got Dwight Stahl, Dan Young, Ryan Ting. How are you guys? Nice to talk with you.
Doing good, man. Doing good. Good to see you.
Thank you. For those at home that don't know, which, I mean, that's be a shock, but who are you? Why are we here today? What's the haps? I feel like going like, it's like a round table. Like I'm, Bill Maher, like Pat Buchanan, you're next,
Well, I'm Dwight Stahl. I'm a design manager at Hasbro, and I work on a lot of Marvel product, and most specifically on the Marvel Legends line.
Cool.
I am on global marketing for Marvel Legends and have been for a while now. Great privilege to work with Dwight and the whole team. And I'll kick it over to Dan.
Yeah, I'm Dan Yoon. I'm on marketing for Marvel Legends. I'm usually just the hype man for Dwight and Ryan. So that's what I do. I just hype them up.
I'll tell you this, most specifically with the Sentinel, which we'll talk about in just a second, but I like how you guys have been doing this more organic sort of social media where, Dan, you've been kind of leading it and going like, you're kind of rallying it up. You got to build in that hype. Yeah. And I like that. It's kind of like what, NECA does with their stuff. So it's cool to have that kind of interaction with the fans, especially. And it just shows that, you guys are attentive. You want to know, especially the backer thing. Over the weekend, everybody go, what numbers are we at? What's the next tier? And that's fun, to constantly keep checking your phone and seeing, what the next thing is. But speaking of which, what you guys, as of this, I think I checked about an hour ago, it was like 10,500 backers. It took 26 hours to fund. So we're all going to get some Sentinels. That's good, right? Congratulations to everybody on that one.
Yeah, big robots are on the way.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it with everybody, with their support. So thank you to everybody that supported the project within 26 hours, It gave us bragging rights to our Transformers and Star Wars friends there a little bit to just be like, hey, we're breaking records, and we couldn't have done it without you guys,
Yeah, what was the general, you see that ticker going up where you're like, oh, okay, this is actually going to work, right? The nervousness was over with?
Yeah, because we had all these meetings, leading up to this, and looking at past history told us that there'd be a significant spike in the first couple of days. And then, typically they go radio silent for 3 weeks, and then the FOMOs jump in and there's a big spike at the end, right? And we were all just kind of teasing around the office, like, all right, guys, we're on for, 45 long days. Are we all ready for this? And then the numbers started going up and they just didn't stop. And it just kept going. It was it went from refresh rate to see not if we thought, how we thought it was going, but, oh my God, how fast is this thing actually going to fund? Because the fans just came out in droves, and it was awesome. And I don't know, I've never been part of this is the first time I've ever been part of a crowdfunded thing, and we knew that the Sentinel was the right item to lead our Marvel Haslab, but this still caught I'll speak for myself, it caught me off guard. I knew this thing was going to fund, but I had no idea that it was going to be this crazy of a weekend. And it went from, oh my God, I wonder if we're going to get there, to, oh my God, we're going to have all 3 of our tiers unlocked by, everyone was going a day. And it was just like, oh my God, you fans are insane. God bless you, but you're insane.
Oh yeah, that's us to a T. We are nuts.
But this is the enviable position to be in, right? Because the alternative is you make a bunch of bad assumptions and then you show something and no one cares about it and it never gets funded and everyone has a bad taste left in their mouth. So we were pleasantly surprised. We were confident in the item. We believed it would get funded at 6,000 at some point. But we've just been really blown away by the success of it all. And then when it was funny over the weekend, right? Actually the way the website was built was such that it has a live tracker, which is, with every order that's placed. But just the way it was built, once you reach the funding threshold, it kind of converts to a 6,000 plus number, and it's no longer live. So once we hit that point, quickly after quickly on the second day, and the backer then just had 6,000 plus people were freaking out. Oh, why is the ticker broken? What does that mean? And it's well, that's just because that's how the system was built. No one has ever done it in 26 hours before. But these are good problems, if you consider them problems, to have. And just want to make as many of these fans happy with it as possible.
I think you did a good job. I think that everyone that bought one, and in some cases people buy like multiple ones, which I'm like, no, I'm not that. I'm good. One is perfect for me. But I think the offerings, plus it's you guys said it off the bat, you're like, okay, there's 3 unlockables, and I think when you get to that point, you're like, all right, I got to do my point. I woke up on Saturday morning. I had 2 friends that texted me and said, we got ours. Where are you at? I'm like, God dang it. All right. And then what? Like probably 2 hours after that, it got funded. And I was like, all right, you're welcome. Jeez, you got me. I was going to get it regardless. But the extra figures, was there any, I'll tell you right now, the project total, having the female Prime Sentinel, the Bastion, which is awesome. It's a very cohesive package. The tentacle, the master mold, that's primarily for me, that's what's most attractive, I think, is seeing that and going, okay, so all my other Sentinels I've had, whether Toy Biz or past, Hasbro ones, they all kind of fit within that realm still. And they can make for quite a displayable thing. So that's what I've been pushing and telling people, like, save your other Sentinels and, use this. But I'm stoked on the figures. I'm stoked to see if you guys do anything else. Is there, like, plans in the future for tiers and things like that? I would say fans want it. Going offhand, Boulevard Trask, Gyrick, all that stuff would fit in so perfectly with the Sentinel motif. What is it? Why the Sentinel though? Like, why'd you pick that as opposed to like a Galactus or thinking of all the other big characters? You know what I mean? Like a Celestial. Like, why do you think Sentinel worked so well?
Well, I mean, we actually started this project about 2 years ago. This is Sentinel 2.0. This is not the first model we designed. This is not the first model we built. But over the course of the last 2 years, going back and forth and just working on things, we actually also brainstormed and drew up Galactus. So our team looked at what Galactus would look like in this kind of world, what the Sentinels would look like, and we thought that, the Sentinels are just such an iconic element in the Marvel Universe, and they're so important to the X-Men, and the X-Men has always been really well received by us since 2016, 15? When did we launch that Juggernaut wave, Brian?
16.
Yeah.
So, since then, I mean, for the last 4 years, anything we do with X-Men has been receiving so much love. It just, and the Sentinel being what it is, being the design giant robots also is just cool for, everybody, and the troop builder aspect of it. All of those things just seem to make a lot of sense for like a HasLab offering because, we've shipped the regular Sentinel once before with the Amazon set, and it was the Marvel Universe before that. And that Sentinel is a great Sentinel. As the Toy Biz era Build-A-Figure is a fantastic figure, one of my favorite figures from that run. But they're on the smaller scale of Sentinel, which, like you said, is still accurate to the comics. But there's the other super Sentinels that you've seen drawn over the years that just tower over anything we've seen before, and that's kind of what we wanted to capture in this version.
We kind of love the X-Men. So.
Yeah, before we kind of start talking, I got to mention is that it's funny how the X-Men are always seem to be the start of, the next going forward for Marvel properties. You had the movies, of course, you had the 90s cartoon, even doing with figures now with your HasLab. There's something very appealing about the X-Men to see it now with whatever Disney chooses to do, going forward. It's exciting, and I'm glad because it's been too long to see them on the shelves. You start with the Juggernaut wave, and now we're up to the Deadpool Strong Guy wave. That's, you guys look like you're just having fun. You're having fun making these, and it resonates throughout the figure, especially in the choices with the shark. What's his name? Jeff the Shark. That's the
Land Shark. Yeah.
That's amazing.
You mentioned the animation, and as soon as Disney Plus launched, and I downloaded it on my phone, and I searched up the X-Men cartoon series and booted it up. Episode 1, Night of the Sentinels. Like 3 minutes into the first episode, you've got the Sentinel like tearing into Jubilee's house, right, and tracking her down in the mall, and you're like, oh yeah, like this was such an important part of that show and just our childhood, and it's in like the opening montage, and they continue to keep coming back in new iterations in the comics over the years with the House of X powers from last year. They were a big part of it. So yeah, it was a great time, and as Dwight said, it was clearly the right one the right crowdfund to start with for us.
Yeah, I think so. And then, in continuing, you guys announced yesterday, you got the new Fox property at the 20th anniversary, which is crazy to me to think about that, because I remember going to see that in the theater, being jazzed, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, like the old commercials are possibly the best, worst thing about them, when they used to have like, all that corny music playing in the trailer. Is it more to be like, okay, it's the 20th anniversary, let's do something fun for the fans? Will there be, this is just like the first kind of offering where you have more sets on, like we saw Deadpool and Negasonic, depending on how these go, will we eventually see more Fox characters, things like that? Spider-Man?
So yeah, like they were revealed yesterday, or I should say the final products, the first couple were revealed on the day that the first X-Men film came out 20 years ago. It had been something, we had to focus on the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff for the past couple years. That's kind of, everyone knows that. But then with the, with Fox kind of coming back, and Marvel and Kevin Feige last year, teasing things like Fantastic Four and Mutants coming in his Hall H presentation. So it kind of brought it back into the fold. It was a good time to go back to the old films before whatever the new version is ends up being. And to be clear, like we don't know anything that we're not letting on. Like we're not confirming or denying anything. This was just a
pretty much know nothing all the time.
Yeah. We're still working on 2020, to be honest. But yeah, so Dwight is a huge Hugh Jackman fan, as am I, and it lined up nicely that the Fox properties were unlocked around the time that it was the proper 20th anniversary. So it all kind of gelled together really nicely.
No, that was cool, especially to the day. That was fun. I even, when you mentioned Days of Future Past, I watched it again on Disney Plus the other night, and there are elements. I can't wait to see again like what Disney does going forward with X-Men. There was always good elements to it, but I think for fans of MCU and now putting these Fox properties in there as one cohesive thing, that's awesome. People are largely stoked. Like, I mean, it's all just been like, man, I can't wait to put Hugh Jackman next to my Avengers team and everything else. So that's very cool.
That was the one piece that that was my one absolute when we did this. It's like, we have to get Hugh Jackman into this line, because wherever Marvel goes with the X-Men next, I know I'm going to be on board, and I know I'm going to love it. But Hugh had played that character for so many years, and he, for me and for many other people, he is Wolverine. He, that was like, such a major role in him revisiting that character so many times over the last, 15, 20 years. I guess what his last one was Logan. That was just 2 years ago.
Yeah, so, just 2 or 3, something like that.
So so he played that character for 17, 18 years. I mean, that's worthy of a legend figure, and that's worthy of putting on your shelf next to your Robert Downey and your Chris Hemsworth and all of those other amazing actors and actresses that have played these great characters. So, and like Ryan said, I have a man crush on him. So, I really wanted to make an awesome Hugh Jackman figure to put on my shelf, because I wanted it to be right next to all the other great figures that we've worked on over the years. So that was a real
Before
treat.
we even worked any of this out and like actually added the Fox movie items to the line, Dwight went out and sculpted a Hugh Jackman Wolverine and a Deadpool to bring around to meetings to help everyone understand how great they could be. So that was how much I wanted it to happen.
Dwight, I don't want to see you outside Hugh Jackman's house. Okay.
No. Hugh's pretty safe out there in Australia. I don't have the money to go knocking on his door. But maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to give him a high five.
Talking about like old animated series, with the X-Men and then Spider-Man, the retro classic line, that's been, I think, a genuine hit right there. I myself. We kind of joked, I think an interview a long time ago, I talked to you guys, I was like, you're like, what do you want to see? I'm like, Spider-Man animated. Now, I know these are more based on like comic books type style, but it's the packaging that really cemented it. And I think that, when I do like old Toy Biz videos, specifically talking about like Spider-Man, the animated series, it's fun to see how many people really, back in the day, you didn't have a lot of conversations with people like we do with, online, especially social media. But it's fun to see how many people were actually huge fans, and you guys doing that, especially the new Spider-Man, with the new body mold and everything else. The packaging just evokes all this nostalgia. Are there maybe later down the road, because I know people would love to see it, more plans with that, or even Iron Man animated, Hulk animated from the 90s, things like that?
I mean, yeah, we've as a team talked about Ryan every year basically tries to find a new category for us to think about. So, we're always trying to, we started with the Gray series, just the Marvel Universe kind of look. And then with the X-Men and now Spider-Man, yes, we have more things in the works. I'm not going to tell you which one's coming next.
No. I like the surprise.
Ryan would be very cross with me, but we do have some cool new retro ones in the future. And yeah, I mean, I think ideally we'd want to hit all of those, right, guys?
Yeah, Dan. Dan's our Spider-Man animated series consultant because he watched it more than anyone else. So
I still got to go toe to toe with you, Dan, on trivia knowledge about Spider-Man animated. We'll do that eventually.
I don't know if I could win. All I'll say is on the team there's one spokesperson for all the animated series, and I try very, very hard to fight for those characters, but because they have a special place in my heart, whether it be the Iron Man series or even the Incredible Hulk animated series is really good too. It's underrated, I think. But yeah, Spider-Man and the X-Men animated series are like probably two of my favorite shows of all time. So yeah, I'll lose in trivia, but I'll try to fight for it in our Legends meetings. Don't worry.
I would say Fantastic Four, give or take. Do that one last. The animated series. No, I think, and like I said, a lot of people it evokes so much nostalgia for seeing those figures on the shelf. And even with the Kingpin figure, this is something I looked at an old figure box the other day. The Kingpin, the color choice that you guys did for the comic book, the old prototype on the back of the card actually matches what you guys are putting out. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting little tidbit of information. I'd totally missed that as a kid, but yeah, it's, even though it's not directly based on animated, it's close enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we ever anticipate, or we ever have gone into any of these lines saying that we have to accurately depict what was done back in the day. It's more just kind of taking the inspirational cues. And if the figures were in the show and if it lines up perfectly, awesome, 2 thumbs up. But there's still some great characters that just look fantastic on those cards that, it's just fun to have some, have some creative leeway to kind of make up some new paths forward for us going. The more flexibility we have, the more variety we can bring you, the more deeper our coffers are. It allows for us to just do more and more, over the coming years.
No, and that's what's good, is that it's taking what was before and putting your own spin on it. And it flows evenly. That way you can look at old stuff you have on your shelf and then go, oh, it's a nice little cohesiveness that I'm starting to see from past offerings. But overall, I'll tell you, like, if you continue with any of those lines, it's a home run. People will be stoked.
Just a shout out to our packaging team led by Ben and his amazing folks there. Like, understand that they have to recreate something to look like it did in 94. It's not like they have the Photoshop files lying around from 1994 boot up and run again. They have to build it from scratch. And we're just constantly amazed at the authenticity and everything from, like you said, the back of the package has kind of like the wireframes, kind of like they put thought into that. They try to make it like reflect the new figures, but also be in that old style. So, those guys are awesome, and keep the goods.
No, it's just nice to see everyone's, I don't keep a lot of like actual Marvel Legend, individual wave packaging, but when it comes to retro stuff, sometimes it's even hard for me to open it. I like seeing it right there, just on it's quite a
one in, one out. Sometimes. Come on, 1 in, 1 out. Let's go.
Oh God, I can't do that anymore. I'm lucky to just even get one wave. Let's say this, we talk about all this stuff that you guys constantly put out. What about yourself? What are you collecting? I know, Ryan, you're all about, I like it, you put the trading cards out there, Dan, we talk about Spider-Man. Like, what are you guys collecting yourselves, or are you?
Ryan, you want to go first?
Sure. So yeah, trading cards is a big thing. I feel like everyone kind of knows that, and I sneak them into my presentations. I have a bunch on display here. That's been one of my favorite quarantine activities, is going on eBay and buying up old boxes with the hope that one day, my son will go through them the same way I did, but I don't know if that's really going to happen. But no, we're all fans of other things, in terms of collecting. you know, I grew up playing Magic the Gathering and still, you know, love those cards and kind of get them when I can. And, you know, without getting into too much specifics, but yeah, we're fans of other toy brands and licenses and stuff. And, you know that I'm a fan of the Heroes in the Half Shell there. We share that in common. So,
oh, yeah.
yeah, my toy room is overflowing. And on the other side of this laptop is pure pandemonium. And it would be totally embarrassing to let anyone else up here.
No, I totally get you. I mean, even behind me right now, I've sectioned off just this particular thing. So, because over here, it's just everything is toy biz all over the floor. The idea, you know, behind it, Comic-Con, you know, it's not something happening this year. You guys have some big plans. Friday this week, you know, teasing some big things. You have some big reveals for us for Legends, we'll say. I know that, you know, Hasbro's always got some great offerings for all their brands.
Yo, July is going to be crazy. I said it out there, and you we're very grateful enough to put it on IG for me too, but July is going to be crazy. We definitely have plans in July that we can't reveal yet, but I don't think the fans are going to be really disappointed at all with what, you know, is in store, you know?
Yeah.
Ryan, but you can add on to that.
I think it's, well, I mean, I'm professionally and personally heartbroken that I won't be at San Diego this year with all of you super fans, because that show is not only is it just a great opportunity to show the next year's coming product lines that, you know, across all of the Hasbro brands that we have to offer, which is always a huge treat, but it's, you know, I'm greatly going to miss the interaction with all of the fans and families that come through the showroom and see the stuff live for the first time. And when you watch those kids' eyes light up and bug out of their heads because they're seeing stuff that they can't believe they're seeing, and it's a real treat. So I'm really sad that we don't get to be there in person. I'm super grateful to you and all of our other amazing toy reviewing and passion sites that, you know, give us the opportunity to still talk and tell about what some of the cool things we're doing are. It's by no means a replacement for being there in person. That week the Comic-Con week is one of the most exhausting weeks of the year, and it gets even more exhausting as I get older. It's also one of the most rewarding and recharging weeks of the year. You know, when you can see all of the hard work that the small Marvel team that you guys get to see in person and we get to talk with versus the greater Marvel team and the greater Hasbro team that all love what we do every day, getting to work on these amazing toy brands and play experiences is, you know, why we're here. It's what we love to do. And, you know, I look forward to having those in-person interactions again hopefully in the near future, because it recharges me personally, and I know it recharges a lot of my design counterparts, and I'm sure it does to all of the amazing marketers and everybody else that goes into the development of these things. It's a treat. So hopefully we'll be back there in person real soon.
Yeah, I'm sad there's no giant diorama this year to kind of go through and go, oh, are they trying to sneak stuff in there, you know, as one does at Comic-Con?
Yeah, well, you want to know what it was going to be?
You kind of, didn't you mention it was like a apocalypse or skull? You said that the skulls had all come in.
We were going to have a whole destroyed post-apocalyptic future with like 300 skulls scattered across the strand, and we were actually going to show you that entire House of X Powers of 10 wave. We were going to have all of those figures scattered in the diorama just as diorama figures, and you could decide whether you think they were real or not. At the panel, we were going to tell you they're all real, you can get them all, and now you guys don't get to see any of that. And I'm sure Ryan will come up with a very creative way of getting that stuff out there to you in the near future, but that's what I was most excited about, because I love working on those dioramas and getting to debut a couple of these massive Sentinels in that landscape would have been, you know, absolutely epic.
This is the perfect opportunity. You can just tell us all of them right now.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no problem. let me go grab my notes.
Yeah, I'll wait. It's totally fine. Deanna, we got time, right?
Yeah, they're all just they're in here. If you just read this, you know, all the they're in there. Yeah.
No, I think definitely a lot of, like, you know, talking about X-Men again, it's just like a lot of people are just stuck, like, just more X-Men, you know, just keep them coming. And I'm sure you guys are just going to rock it like usual.
We got more X-Men, more Spider-Man, more Iron Man, more of everything that you know and love today, as well as things that you don't yet necessarily love, Eternals and stuff like that right around the bend, right? You know, it's some new IPs that we don't know much about today, you know, unless you read those books, but to the common folk, it's a whole new universe. So there's going to be a lot of new things coming from what Disney's pumping out in the MCU, as well as Disney Plus, and all of the amazing Hasbro classic and theatrical product that'll accompany it. So tons of Marvel awesomeness in the near future.
That's what I like. You know, I always stress about Marvel Legends is that, you know, it was the toy line back in the day where it wasn't just the usual character. I mean, you guys went deep. You guys, especially with Hasbro, you continue to go deep. And even I'm half the time going like, you know, people write me like, who's this character? I'm like, I have no idea. But you use that as a jumping off point to go, okay, I'll go and do some research. And what you kind of find out is more fun. And it's what I used to do with, you know, collecting back in the 90s and getting like Trevor Fitzroy, you know what I mean? Going like, who is this? You know, as a kid, he's like, he was on the cartoon like later, but it just helps you in kind of better understanding that world. And with Eternals, I'll be quite honest with you, I'm looking forward to learning more about that because my knowledge on that is close to zero.
Yeah, well, so is mine before all of this began. You know, I think that's I say it every time, and I honestly mean it. The Marvel team at Hasbro is one of the strongest, most well-rounded teams I've ever had the pleasure of working on. You know, we all are different ages. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different Marvel passions, which together is why the brand's so great. Because when we're kicking off character selects or themes for the year or gimmicks or whatever it might be, every one of us gets a chance to bring different insights and different passions to the table to help fill out the lines. Because I don't know everything. I know a lot, but, you know, I don't have, I'm probably only this much of what the actual entirety of the Marvel universe is, you know, and that's why having Dan and Ryan and, some of our team members who we're not allowed to mention through Pain of Death and a lot of other, amazing people like Tony and Laura and, and Ben and his team, and everybody has something about Marvel because it touched every one of us in a different way when we were younger. And we read something or we watched something, and all of that insight and passion still gets pumped into these lines, not just the Legends line, but the kids line and everything time and time again. And it's awesome, you know?
Oh, I just think about, being a kid in the 90s. Can you imagine these movies and, everything else coming out back then, the toys, and it would have been mind blowing. But, as you're an adult now, for most of us, largely Marvel Legends collectors, even though we won't admit it, it's getting to just kind of enjoy some childhood fun, especially now amidst 2020. You know what I mean? People staying home, and I always say, stay home, just get stuff, have it sent directly to your door. It's a beautiful thing.
That it is. Got to find those highlights this year, man. We got to find those highlights.
Yeah, no, especially. But I'm glad that, once again, thank you. I think we're nearing the 30-minute mark. Is there anything else that you guys would want to mention or talk about? Or
for me, it's the only thing that my final thought would just be to thank you and all of the Marvel fans for supporting all of our lines throughout the course of the year, and obviously mostly at this point in time is to celebrate the success of what you, the fans, have made the Haslab for us, and how big of a treat it is for us to see you guys step up and put your hard-earned money in a challenging year down on something that, we've been working really hard on for a long time. It's an honor to know that you guys, care enough to do that. And that means a lot. And I know maybe it sounds a little cheesy, but, I mean it. It's because it's not an easy year, man. This is a tough year. And to have this kind of a big win and to have you guys appreciate that and still support us means a lot to me. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank all of the amazing Marvel fans who are out there supporting all of the hard work that our full team does day in and day out.
Just continue what you're doing. People always ask me all the time, what do you want them to see them do? And I'm like, no, they're better just left alone. Let them come up with all the stuff that they're doing, because I got zero problems right now. And that's, just the honest opinion, is that you guys, even if it's not something I generally want to go after, eventually we get to something I'm like, Heck yes. Well, thank you guys. You guys want to do like where you can find yourself on social media?
Ryan and I just recently started Twitter just because we know that it is a community, and we know from a marketing lever, it's important to be available to you guys. You know what I mean? It's not like we're going to answer every, DM that comes our way or anything like that. But we as marketers, I think, have a responsibility to make sure that we are available to give you guys a good way of dialogue. Because honestly, it's not a community that made this whole thing possible too. So we want to be there for you guys as well.
No, most definitely. And like I said, it's fun when you guys go on Twitter, you say humorous things or you hint at stuff, and it keeps people engaged. So I would say keep doing what you're doing. It's hitting the right spots.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, I guess that'll wrap it up. Dwight, Ryan, Dan, thank you so much for sitting down, and all the best with the Sentinel. I mean, what we got, 300 days left? I'm sure there's plenty of tears to still add.
It feels like it. It certainly feels like it. Thank you for your support, and for you specifically, kudos to you for always being on top of everything. You're a great news source for me to hear what's going on in the collector community outside of Marvel Legends. So we all appreciate you as well.
Oh, of course. No, anytime. I enjoy, from what it's become and what it's developed into, I'm very appreciative. And it's just, again, the fact that you guys want to sit down and chat with me, I'm stoked. So thank you.
Our pleasure, man. It's our pleasure.
Well, I guess then we'll leave it at that, and we'll see what else you guys got coming for July.
Peace out.
Have a good one.